Okay, so this is take one intro. Oh. Over the past year and a half, several coworkers and I have gone through hours of footage, putting together over 14 videos showing you exactly how I built my van. Now, I've gone through what it took to put everything together, but I've never really gone into what it cost to build this van. And in the tour video, I said it was probably around $17,000. $17,000 to get it to where it is now. Well, I've gone back through and looked through these receipts and my little spreadsheet that I put together, and it's closer to about $15,000. So I want to go through the whole van and show you exactly where all that money went. This is my budget breakdown. I'm Ben. Welcome to DogCatManVan. I hate that. I hate it with my whole heart. Okay. Okay, so first off, I have this 2015 Ram ProMaster 2500, and I bought it used at 63,000 miles for around $21,000. I also purchased a total automotive protection plan for, I think it was $1,925. So all in all, to drive this van off the dealership parking lot, I ended up spending $23,155. And that's before I even got into any conversion costs. But the first things I started to spend money on with the conversion was the insulation and sound deadening. So let's go talk about that. I ended up buying around 90 square feet of sound deadener, which was a bit too much, and it cost me around $160. And then I spent another $160 on my insulation. And then if I did a rough estimation on the construction adhesive I bought to adhere the insulation to the walls, and then the spray foam, like that expanding foam and stuff to fill in the gaps, I probably spent another $55 on all of that. So that was like around $380, $390. Okay, now let's move on to the electrical. Now I'm not gonna go and dive into the specifics on every little piece of electrical that I bought because there's a ton of stuff like this little switch which operates these lights and these wires, these fuses. I'm just gonna talk about like the big ticket items and then do an overall price that I spent on everything. So this inverter is an Ames Power 12 volt DC pure sine power inverter. I said inverter twice, but that cost me about $584. Then there's the batteries. Presto, which are super dirty. Now the batteries, there's a little corrosion there, you know, to add some flavor. Those cost me $984 for the pair. And then when it came to all the electrical supply costs, whether it was all the DC wiring and AC wiring and switches and fuses, everything like that, I spent around $974. So in total, for all this electrical stuff, I spent around $2,538. Now you can see where some of those costs are adding up. Look, I'm doing something as I talk, like Brad Pitt in his movies when he eats. Now for solar, I went with these two 300 watt monocrystalline panels by Renogy, and together they cost me $700. And then, I'm kind of sitting weird. Maybe I'll switch butt cheeks, like this. And then there's cables that run from these solar cables, and I had to buy 2 packs. So that cost me about $44, which then run into a cable entry box, which was about $22. And that all goes down to this NPPT solar charge controller, which cost me about $165. Then I got a little fancy and I bought this Victron Bluetooth battery monitor for about $207, which put my solar setup at a grand total of $1,136, or something around that. Now I know you probably can't tell what that is, but it's a part of my plumbing, and that's what we're gonna talk about now. Now, I made my van build a little more difficult than it probably needed to be by having a bathroom with a flushable toilet and a shower and running water to a sink and then a gray water tank and fresh water tank, blah, 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 blah. There's ways you could save money by going a lot simpler with your plumbing, but this is what I ended up spending. So under here is a 33-gallon freshwater tank. I spent around $50 on that. And then underneath the van, I spent about $38 on this 13-gallon gray water tank because it's the only one that would fit under here. Then to get the water from this tank to everything, I needed a pump, a filter, and an accumulator tank. And I bought all those from SureFlow for about $121. And then when I looked at all the plumbing supplies I purchased, like the PVC to run this gray water, the PEX to run my fresh water, all the adhesives and couplings and things like that, I spent around $552, which puts the cost of my plumbing at about $761. Okay. And in order to have hot water, you need a water heater. So I went with this Girard 2-gallon on-demand tankless water heater, which cost about $509. And this door, which has seen better days, cost $28. Now, in order to run the water heater, I needed propane. And so I bought this 12.2 gallon Flame King propane tank for $320. And then the remote fill right here cost $195, which was crazy. I didn't expect it to cost me that much. And then with the regulator and all of the propane is ran through copper line and copper fittings. All that together cost about $150 for those supplies. So in total, I spent probably $700 on this propane setup. Yeah? Yeah. So, burp. For my heat, I ended up buying this Suburban 16,000 BTU furnace. That cost me about $350. And then for cooling, I tried to go cheaper and make this window unit, which is just a Frigidaire 5,000 BTU air conditioner, and mount it down here. And it cost me about $178. It doesn't work. So many people are like, why don't you put a little fan down here? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I've done those things. Overall, this was a failure. I mean, I'm sure people are on here and be like, oh, mine worked fine. And I'm the best, and that's great. But I didn't like it, didn't pan out. And I've tried things. I've done things. No. I went with the remote controlled MaxxAir fans. I've got two of those, one here, one in the bedroom. Together they cost me about $512. So my dining room, that consists of these seats. The seats themselves come with the van, but in order for them to swivel like this, you need to get the swivel adapters. I bought two of them, and together they cost me about $528. Now, this dining table, the countertop itself is used skateboards, and I had Guy of Guy's Woodshop put that together for me. I didn't spend any money on this, but I did spend money on this post, this mount down here, and this mount, like 40 bucks. And since we're in here, we could talk about the blackouts. So this is these blackouts, which cover the front windows. My grandma whipped them together, and I spent about $48 on the fabric and stuff like that. And that fabric also goes on to these curtains, which is a divider, boom, like that, both sides. And I probably spent $20 on the Reflectix that go in these, and I probably spent around $28 on the batting that goes in these curtains. I spent like $15 on Velcro to get them to stick to the windows and stuff like that, which didn't really pan out. So yeah, that's the dining room, totaling about $673. Now, the living room, which is right here. So what I consider to be my living room is this couch setup, this cabinet, and then the projector screen I have on this door, which I can show you now. Dirty screen. This is all from Archer's dirty body, because he eats up here. Now, this couch was a DIY thing as well, and the cushion here, probably about $30 for the foam. And then for the fabric and stuff that covers the foam on this couch, as well as these pillows, probably spent about 60 bucks on that. And that includes like the little polyfill or the cotton that goes in these pillows and stuff like that. Then we've got this cabinet, and I didn't spend any money on this. This was something I got from Greg, who installs cabinets for a living, and it was a scrap one, just one that came off a job that no one needed, so I saved money there. Now, connected to the cabinet is my entertainment system. In total, for this projector, this mount, little UE boom, Bluetooth speaker, and my projector screen, it was probably about $370. I'm not gonna include the Xbox in the cost because I had that, it's old. And then I do have a cell booster up here. It's one of those Wii Boosts. It's $500. Also, I know this couch has wood on it and building materials, but I'm gonna do all of my building materials as a cost at the very end because it is used all throughout the van. All right, now onto my kitchen. I went with this 17-inch 3-burner gas oven stove Dometic combo thing, and that cost me about $300. And then my sink is just a 15 by 15 by 6 like bar sink, and it was really cheap. It only cost me $8 off the used rack at Home Depot, or maybe Lowe's, I can't remember. Because I got this so cheap, I did spend more money on this faucet from IKEA, which was close to $80. And then this little guy is my water purifier. That was something around $175, which was crazy expensive. It's one of those like 3-stage water purifiers that's located underneath the sink here. And then there is this magnetic bar here and this fruit hammock, or whatever you want to call that. But my mom got that for me for Christmas, so I don't know how much it cost. Then another cabinet from Greg that cost me nothing because it was a used cabinet that was no longer in use. And then that's food, so I don't know why I opened it. Oh, another thing that I didn't point out that's kind of like part of the building materials that I bought packs of are these gas struts that are for the cabinets that I've used on all the cabinets throughout here. And a pack of those cost me $16, okay. And a pack of those cost me about $16. And then there's my fridge, and it's a 3 cubic foot freezer. I accidentally bought a freezer, which I said that in the van tour video, but that was like $220. And then to make it a fridge, I got this temperature regulator thing, and that was $62. All the cabinetry and stuff like that, again, I didn't spend any money on this because it's all repurposed scrap cabinetry from Greg. This kitchen countertop, this is all used skateboards that we put together, and I didn't have to spend any money on that. Cool, that pretty much covers my kitchen, I think. Onto the bathroom. Bye. The bathroom. So I have a toilet. It's a Thetford cassette toilet, and it is flushable. Flushable. And that costs $492. Then you have the shower pan that I'm standing in that's nice and dirty and beat up. It's 24 by 40, and that was $200. There's all of this sheet metal material for the shower walls. That cost about $300. And there's this vent, which costs $46. The shower curtain on a rod, that costs $20. Shower drain, can you see that? $18. And the shower head, which is a little leaky, $13. Now these copper pipes and these fittings, which are just like hose shutoff valves, that's my mixer. I included all that within the plumbing material budget, so I'm not gonna restate that. But the materials you're seeing here, like these cedar planks and the framework behind these walls and whatnot, I'm gonna include that within the building materials again at the end. But the outside, wait, these hooks were $17 for the pack. This door was just a closet door that Greg had that we repurposed to be my bathroom door. All of the wood out here is reused pallet wood that I just took off some construction sites around town and then painted and stained. I did spend money on the paint and stain, but again, that's building materials at the very end. And then this mirror, porthole mirror from Wayfair, was $49. So I can do my hair and stuff. Now my closet, again, was another item from Greg. I didn't pay for this cabinet. Pretty sure it's a drawer turned sideways, but I did buy this little mesh net for $6. and then these packet of locks for $24. All right, let's go to the bedroom. Now, I have this 6-inch memory foam full mattress that I got off of Amazon for $130. And then this duvet pillowcase set was probably about 50 bucks. I had the pillows already. Windows, I've got 2 in the bedroom, 1 on each side. I got those from Motion Windows, and together they cost me $552. I did have my grandma whip together some blackouts for those as well, but that's just off the same materials that we used up front, so that's not an extra cost. Then the cabinet, again, was just a cabinet from Greg. Didn't spend any money on that. But these nets that are now all stretched out and saggy underneath, together they cost $22. And then the lights that you see throughout the van, I got those as a pack, and I think 10 of them come in a single pack, but those were about $65, which run to these. Boop, boop. There's one more thing I need to point out. This cat door was $20. So we ran out of light, so I'm gonna try to wrap this up quickly. The tire mount kit. I spent $165 on this DIY kit, which is this with bits and pieces here. And then we bought the materials for $47 and then did that ourselves. And then this is all welded to a hitch that I had to buy separately. That was $133. And then all the electrical, like the wiring harness for that, was $75. So this ladder was made by my dad and his buddy Brett, so I didn't spend any money on that. And then this fairing was made by them too, so I didn't spend any money on this either. Well, I did spend some money on the paint that I coated it with, but that'll be in building materials. All right, now that brings us to the building materials. Lumber costs, adhesives, nails, screws, all that stuff. I ended up spending around $1,960. With all the stuff that I ordered online, I ended up spending about $330 in shipping and handling. And with all my purchases, I spent around $590 in taxes, which brings me to a grand total of $14,909 to convert this van. That's a good chunk of change. So I guess technically, this is a $38,000 van, and that's not including any labor costs. So if I try to justify it, I've been living in here for over 2 years, basically 26 months. And before I moved in here, I was looking at costs of single bedroom apartments in the area, and they were roughly around $700 to get a place that was somewhat decent. And if you multiply 700 by 26 months, that's $18,200 of rent that I haven't had to spend. Then I turn this into a business. All of the travel, a lot of the build costs, I was able to write off as business expenses because they go into creating content for the channel. And I've been able to get around $5,000 back on my tax returns. And then finally, because it's a business, it's earned some money. Through AdSense, Patreon, merchandise sales, and Amazon affiliate links, we've made around $9,600 off of this. So I guess if you look at it that way, if I live in this van for another 6 months, I will have broken even. And then if and when I decide to sell it and maybe start on a new build or something else, I could consider whatever I make off that as profit. And I know that that isn't gonna be the case for everybody, and there are definitely ways that you can build a van out for a lot cheaper, but I hope that kind of justifies it and maybe puts your mind at ease if you're looking at doing something like this yourself. I hope this helped enlighten you on the actual costs it takes to build a van, especially if you're new, you're gonna be making mistakes and you'll be spending money on your mistakes. So budget accordingly. And if you have any questions or concerns, make sure to leave a comment, shoot me an email. And then if you want to support the channel, jump on Patreon, buy some merchandise, or maybe I'll set up a PayPal and put it on here, I don't know. And I guess next, stay tuned for when I go through and point out all the things that did and didn't work for me on this build after living in it for 2 years, because a lot of this stuff is gonna have to get fixed. To lock them shut, there's these buttons. Well, I broke this one, so this is a terrible example. Okay,